All right. Welcome to Empower Capital. Once again, I'm Sam. Today we have Kavita with us. Today we are going to talk about the area of relational. Uh, there are six indices of success, and relationships is one of the areas that we like to discuss. So today we're going to interview Kavita, and I'm going to let her introduce herself, and then we'll get straight to some of the questions that I have for her. And so that way we can help you guys in this area. All right. Kavita, can
Yeah,
you please introduce yourself?
I would be happy to. So, Sam, thanks for having me on. I am pumped. And yeah, even based on what you do, dating, relationships, feeling fulfilled is so important. So, I'm excited to dive in. I'm a dating coach and mentor for men who are struggling with dating, struggling to attract women with their confidence, and trying to see, well, I'm having success in other areas of my life, but why can't I figure out this piece? And this is what I've been doing for 13 years is helping men build successful and happy relationships.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, guys, I'm excited to interview Kavita, and she's awesome. She has great vibes. You can already tell. So get excited. So first question
Yeah.
that I want to know, and for the world to know as well, what your thoughts are on this. So is this notion of the one, right? Is it a real thing, or is it just a myth?
The one is who you decide is the one. And thank God, imagine in all of these people to only think that there is one perfect person for you. I don't operate from the belief in any area of my life that is limiting. Anything that starts to limit me, anytime I start to get caught up in that game of the pool is small, whether that's your life purpose, whether that's what you do for a living, and or whether that's the person you're going to be with, to have the mindset that this is the only thing possible for you is very limiting. On the other side, there what I absolutely believe in is a calling, right? Commitment, devotion to one thing, whether again, that's your purpose or somebody that you're dating. But it's about how you feel about it, what you make it, not allowing yourself to go along for this roller coaster ride of constraints in life.
I see. Thank you for that. It makes sense because somebody once said if you were designated just one person, then with all the wars that have gone on, then a lot of women should not, ever marry, right? So yeah,
Well, it's just not the way to look at love. And when we think about love, we think about abundance, right? When we want to feel more love, when we want to ride this momentum of caring for someone, loving someone, it's more than just about one person. Love is a feeling. Love is to be felt in life. And again, so this feeling of abundance means there is unlimited love out there for me. And that in no way overshadows devoting yourself or committing to one person. That's fine. But that mindset of like, well, I could never meet someone else. I could never be with someone else. There's no one else out there for me. That is not an abundant mindset.
thank you for that. So question number two that I want to talk about there is there sort of jumping on to the next question here. Is there a thing as over pursuing when it comes to the courting phase of in a relationship when a guy is trying to, is there such a thing as over pursuing? Because the reason I ask is because there are books out there, there are other folks out there that teach strategies, right, in pursuing. So is there such a thing as over pursuing? And yeah, it's sometimes it's a struggle.
Over is there such a thing as over pursuing? So I've heard stories of women that have said, he was in the friend zone, but he never stopped pursuing me for 14 years. And here we are, right? So we hear these stories. Believe that it's not about what you're doing, what you're saying. It's really an energy thing. And if you are operating from an authentic place, you're not anxious, you're not stuck in old patterns, you don't have abandonment issues. Like there are so many reasons people pursue, And if it's for the wrong reasons, if it's to fulfill a need that you have not yet healed, yes, you're over pursuing. Like that's not going to ever create an authentic connection. You're chasing the wrong thing. But pursuing from an authentic energy, from with some lightness to it, not from a desperate place of I need to lock this down, is very different. You know, I've been in a relationship now for 13 years, and in the beginning, I would say my partner pursued me for about a good year. And it wasn't about trying to rush the relationship. It was really about being consistent and letting me know I'm here. Like, I'm into you. I want to make this work. I'm not going anywhere. And it wasn't from this, again, like I need to lock this in. So
Thirsty.
so it was not thirsty. So can you over pursue? Absolutely. But it's really about what you're bringing to the table, how you're coming into it, your approach, what you're receiving back from the other person. Obviously, if someone's like, listen, this is really not for me, it depends. And I think pursuing also when a foundation is there, when a friendship is there, when you are moving the relationship forward is a really positive signal, even if it's not at the pace you like. If there's progress, it's a positive signal that you can continue to pursue.
Okay, so being able to read between the lines.
Read between the lines, being present, not only operating on your own agenda, understanding and recognizing there's another person here to be paying attention to. Yeah.
That's true, yeah. Because we sometimes focus just on our level of interest and not really assessing their level of interest. All right,
And that's usually where like there are areas that need to be looked at and worked through and healed when it's just like this is what I need, and this like incessant desire to fulfill only things for yourself and not thinking about this person and this relationship as its own entity.
I see. Because I mean, I remember back years ago, there was a girl that told me, why am I not texting her every morning? And I said, I just met you, over, over a few months ago.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't want to over pursue. And she said, what? What is that? That's absolutely ridiculous for you to use that word, over pursue. And so, yeah. And I felt like sometimes when guys do that so soon, when they just met a girl a week ago and they text her every single morning, some may receive it well, but sometimes I don't know what the message they're sending. I love you already, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Like, that's why I brought up that question. It's like, are they sending that message, and sometimes that's why they get ghosted so quickly, because it's like they're scaring this person off because they just met them a week ago,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're texting them every morning and every night as if they are in a long
In a
term
relationship.
relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the exact problem. And it's also often what two people will end up self-sabotaging. Even if you're both engaging in that kind of behavior early on, it can be very exciting. But if you aren't aware of your patterns, if you are not aware of your behaviors and your self-sabotaging behaviors, it's often why people end up in this same cycle again and again. What's really happening there is that the reason the girl will ghost you, and this can happen on the other end as well, that a man will also be like, okay, this is a little bit too much, is if when we put someone on a pedestal early on, what's really happening is the other person is thinking, when she's getting those good morning texts, she's thinking, well, I haven't done anything to earn this level of attention from you, right? So there's a barrier here, which is, okay, I get you're interested, but there is no reason for you to be this interested in me. You don't know enough about me to have fallen so hard already. So it can feel very uncomfortable for a woman who is self-aware, who has done the work, to be on the receiving end of that kind of treatment. She hasn't earned it. And even though women might say like, oh, I love the princess treatment and I love this and I love that, like her reaction on a body-based level, even if mentally she's appreciating it and enjoying it, on a body-based level, she will likely reject it because it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and yeah, no, absolutely, I totally agree with what you said, and I know some guys, because men are so visual sometimes, sometimes they can rationalize their interest so quickly. It's just based on outward appearance, and
It's hard, like of course, the whole point is for love to feel exciting and for dating to be like, okay, I have the butterflies and I'm excited about this person and we feel hopeful, right? It's the same thing as maybe you make your first investment and it just like it has that it gets immediate traction and that can be very exciting, right? But then what happens? Then it goes down again. And if you are not, if your nervous system is not regulated, if you're not um, mentally prepared to handle the ups and downs,
Yes.
it's going to be a very long and uncomfortable journey. Similar,
Great
in
analogy there. Yeah, I'm putting the two together right now. I'm like, yeah, that works perfectly.
yeah, so you really want to think this is the long game, right? And love is the long game, and not just with this one person, but in general. So if you want to feel good and fulfilled and at peace and grounded, like think about these words. Like if you really want to have that kind of experience in your dating life, you're going to have to think more about sustainability, sustaining, right? Which is not like, okay, now I just met someone and I'm kind of like almost, you might start like love bombing them. And really what you're doing is you are fooling yourself in that. Because I have a lot of clients, high value men, they're doing well financially, they're doing well successfully. What happens is they get very excited about a woman that they just met. And then after 2 or 3 dates, 4 dates, they themselves lose interest. Because once things start to get real, right? Once it's not about whining and dining, once it's actually he's having a bad day and now he's uncomfortable sharing, and he maybe starts to shut down and pull away, now things start to get real. And men who are successful do get very confused about this behavior that they have because they just get overly excited. And it's just, like I said, it's just not a sustainable way to go through your dating life. And that's why secure attachment, for anyone who's familiar with attachment styles, and I could get into it a little bit, but what we're looking for is to move from the very common anxious attachment to more secure attachment, which ultimately can feel quite boring. And we confuse that boringness for no chemistry, for I'm not interested. Where it's actually, we are going to reach that level of like, okay, things just need to coast for a while. And that's actually when, if the relationship was going well, is when we want to double down because it's never going to be super exciting. And it's not always going to be the whining and dining and the fancy red dresses. So, how do we make peace and how do we get on board with, okay, that now things are going to, I don't want to say plateau for a little while, but
Hmm.
it's about shifting your focus
Hmm.
onto what excitement actually means right now. And excitement is, as boring as it sounds, consistent progress.
Yeah, yeah, sounds great. Yeah, no, it's. I think you must have a finance degree because that's how the market works. Because people get so excited when they're up um, in an investment and then pulls back against them and so on. But when you have that long term balanced mindset and sort of keep calm, carry on type of mentality, you usually do well in the capital markets.
Yes,
And I guess it
you get,
applies in life and it applies here as well.
yeah, you get rewarded for that kind of behavior. And once you start to apply that in your love life, you will very quickly see
Yes.
how fast you are rewarded. Not only because you will be rewarded by you feeling good, and when you feel good, you're going to start attracting people into your life that match that vibration. So when you're like leveling up and you're on that frequency, you're going to be very quickly rewarded by attracting women who are also more compatible for you, who are also operating at that level. So if you've been attracting women where things feel a little bit more chaotic, right? You really have to ask yourself, the first question is like, where else in my life am I operating this way?
Mhm.
Because if you feel chaotic, if your investments feel chaotic, if your work feels chaotic, if there isn't that like groundedness and consistency, then it's no wonder that you're attracting that same frequency into your love life.
So yeah, so I guess take care of yourself first. All right.
Yeah, it's
That's exactly that's what I hear. Take care of yourself.
yeah, when things feel chaotic externally, you really want to ask yourself like you want to check your inner compass. What direction are we pointing in? Is it like just going haywire right now? So taking that pause, taking a step back, reevaluating, what am I doing that's not working? Getting back to your self-development practices, your meditation, your gym, slowing things down and then stepping back into things. People often they don't want to do that. They don't want to take that step back because they really believe it's going to slow them down. But rushing in a chaotic way may feel fast paced. It may feel like you're moving forward, but you're not. You're that's often what ends you up on that hamster wheel. We've heard this before. It's like the only way to accelerate is really by slowing down first.
Yeah, and yeah, for me, as a Christian, I know there's a lot of Christians that are following me and all over the world. And as a Christian, yeah, whenever I'm in that type of position of chaos and imbalance, I like to get back to reading the Bible and listening
Mm,
to the worship music and just spending that devotional time that I usually like to spend on my own, and that
yeah.
really helps me to get through the daily life and to get myself back to that
Mhm.
balance mode.
Yeah. And for anyone listening who doesn't have those practices, it's the first step is what are the things that reground you? And if you had things in the past that did, and those things aren't working for you anymore, again, it's time to reevaluate. But what I will say is that in the work I do, one of the biggest mistakes I see men make is they will pull back and then they'll stay back, right? Where this pulling back is not, I'm not talking about for months at a time. I'm saying pause for a few days, reevaluate, take that intentional time for yourself, have a weekend getaway at, a little cottage or something up north, like get into nature, quiet the noise, and then get back into it. Because too many people will retreat, especially when it comes to dating, and then they're just like, and then you end up putting dating on a back burner. You start to focus on other things, and then it just gets so challenging to step back into the dating scene. But if being with a woman, if attracting love into your life, if having a partner, if these things are important to you, the biggest mistake is completely removing yourself and absolutely removing all because it's not just about, people tend to think like when I take a pause, you stay the same. You don't stay the same. That inaction compounds day after day, year, month after month, year after year. So it does get exponentially challenging to start dating again, to feel comfortable around women, to get those social muscles moving again, the longer you take a break. It's just like going to the gym. Take a pause for a week if you really need to, but stop that for a month and you are aching again, and the gym feels challenging again, and your muscles are sore. So we want to keep those muscles lubricated.
Yeah, absolutely. Great, another great analogy there.
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to go through all our questions. The next question that I have here that I want to know is what's the difference between compatibility and chemistry? Which matters more long term?
It's feel like it's the kind of question where the obvious answer is like, well, I'll focus on compatibility, chemistry fades. And I don't like to live in such a lot. That's a very logical way to think about dating and love. And men in particular are very logical. Of course, when you feel that chemistry and then you end up going down that road of texting every morning, men will often get like swept up in that, but it's quite illogical for them. But the men that are thinking more logically, the men that, like I was sharing with you, who are the high value guys who get caught up in that, then their logic takes over, right? And they retreat into like oh, I can't really maintain this. It's not feeling as exciting as before. Are we really compatible? And that logical brain kicks in. Dating and love is supposed to feel exciting. It is supposed to feel magical. And that chemistry aspect is so important. I would like to argue that the compatibility and chemistry are equally important, but what we often get backwards is we assume that chemistry is the only indication of compatibility when it's actually I would focus on both in the beginning. Yes, I'm feeling something here. This feels like a good match, but being mature about dating is allowing chemistry to build. And I'll share a story with you. I had a client so I work exclusively with men now, but there was a period where I was coaching both men and women for a long time. So I coached women for many, many years. And I had a client once, and she had gone on a first date. True to form, she's like, I'm not feeling the chemistry. There's no chemistry there. That's what everybody says, right? They reject someone, then they're like, oh, I'm sorry, there's just not enough chemistry. I'm just not feeling it. On a first date, okay, you are going in with these ridiculously high expectations that there's chemistry needs to be exploding, that you're going to see each other, that you're going to lock eyes. It needs to be this Hollywood movie. And then we get there, and it's these two essentially strangers who don't know each other, who are now sitting at a dinner table for 3 hours trying to get to know each other. And it's challenging. So the most important thing we could do to build chemistry in the early stages of a relationship are maybe not to just sit awkwardly across from each other at a table, because there's about 10% of couples, of people, that are really going to immediately vibe, right? But what you want to do is set yourself up for success. So the way you're going to do that, first of all, consider doing some activities on a first date where you have something that you could bond over, but also focus on together. That's one thing. And the second thing is to allow yourself 2 dates, 3 dates, 4 dates to let chemistry actually build up. Give yourself that chance. So this client that I had, she had gone on a first date. She's like, I'm not really feeling the chemistry, but I was her coach. And I'm like, hey, we are pattern breaking here. So since you're on the fence, go for the second date. When she went for the second date, her car broke down, or a flat tire, something, I think it was a flat tire. So she told the same guy, she's like, I'm so sorry, I have a flat tire. And what did he do? He's like, don't worry, you're not far. And he went, fixed the flat tire, and brought her flowers. She was immediately smitten. Here's this guy who's showing up for her, fixes the flat tire like a ninja, throws the flowers down, and she sees him in this entirely new light. So chemistry shot up in that moment. And what we're not doing is giving ourselves enough chances to see people in different lights. We're not giving ourselves enough of a chance to find real love. And we're really caught in this dismissive dating culture of seeking chemistry so fast rather than focusing on what really matters, which is the problem that we're all facing right now, is rushing through everything and not allowing things the time they need to develop.
The microwave culture.
Microwave culture. So that is your long answer to compatibility and chemistry. They're equally important. It's trying to rush either of the two that's the problem.
Awesome. We're gonna have to have another session in the near future, but I do want to ask one more question. This question may sound very vague, and or cliche, but I don't think it is, and I would love to hear your view on this. I've read several books, and on this question, and they all have
this is building. What is this question? Yeah, no.
the and I've heard different answers to this question. Some are funny, and I don't know if you want to hear them, but maybe I'll mention them before we close. But I will ask this question nonetheless. So, forwards, what do women want? I want to hear it from your mouth.
What do women want? Okay, how do I answer this in a not boring way? At its core, women want safety. At its core, and then we want all of the things layered on top. We want the chemistry, we want the excitement, we want the long conversations, we want the communication. Women are nuanced and complicated and so different from men. So we want a man who simply is able to get and is so excited by how different we are, right? So it's not about, oh, women are complex. It's like, oh, why are women so complex? And when a man is able to show interest, what it shows us, so this is my true answer, is capacity. We are looking for a man with capacity to handle it all. Because as women, we change week to week. Our hormones are up and down. We feel great one day. We don't feel so awesome the next. We're like excited about life one day. The next day we may be contemplating life. Whereas men are so much more steady. And this is why if men are approaching dating and their relationships with the right mindset, you're going to see what a beautiful match we actually are for each other, because one stands strong, which is the masculine energy, and the other, we flow, we move, we change constantly. So a man that is able, it's called mountain energy. I had a conversation with someone I brought a guest speaker into my group coaching program, and we had this conversation, and he talked about mountain energy, this ability to stand so strong no matter and weather any storm. You
Be
do
her
not
rock. Be her rock.
rock. And with that comes genuine curiosity of like, what is this storm? What is happening around me? It's not a blind rock. It's, eyes wide open. I got eyes everywhere, because capacity really means the ability to say, I got this. I got this. So that awareness, that presence, that love, that is like, I want to weather this storm. I want to be here for this because I can handle it. That is what women want. So vague, I wouldn't say it's a vague question. I would say it's a big question. And that is my big answer.
And I guess Chris Rock, the comedian, said it in a different way. He said on stand-up shit, he said, "What do I want? Everything."
Yeah. Yeah. And we want it now. And there's like so many memes. There's so many memes about it. But it's this, right? That's such a good way to put it, because it is bringing a sense of humor to it. It's bringing a lightness to it. So when you think of a comedian addressing this, it's someone who can find the joy in this area of life. Because if you take it too seriously, if you overthink it, if you try to be logical about it, it's going to feel like an uphill battle. Whereas on the other side of it, with the lightness, with the humor, with the joy, with an openness, it gets to be really exciting. And that's when the masculine and feminine energies come together in a unionship where they work together in a really beautiful way.
And I guess for real quick for the ladies, who may want to ask the same question on the vice versa side, how would you address that question?
Men want to be admired and women want to be adored is a framework that we can start with. So the reason I love working with men is because what I get to bring to the table that no one else besides a woman can share is how a woman feels, right? So give a man all the strategies, but a man talking to a man, and there's so much it's so important to make room and space for male mentorship. But I think what not enough men doing is making space for female mentorship. Because if you want to know what women want, if you want to know how to make a woman feel, a man will never be able to actually tell you what it really feels like, what it's like to be on the receiving end of your specific energy. So when I'm working with a man and we're talking, I'm in that zone. Like even right here, Sam, I know what it feels like to be in your energy. Another man just can't tell you that. Right. And that is so important. So your question about what do men want, I can address it that same way, is like, this is what men respond well to. This is how men want to feel. But how does he actually feel in your presence? I will never be able to embody that.
That's a good answer. Thank you once again. I think this was very, very good and helpful. I have a lot more questions, so we're gonna save that for the future.
The
Yes,
kind of
thank. Yeah, but
conversation.
any last remarks before we here?
Yeah, well, I put together a little something for your audience. Is that maybe I can share that if that's cool?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So I really run everything on Instagram. So if anybody liked my take on things, I would just invite you there. There's just a plethora of information and dating tips and advice. So my Instagram is at dashing date. And I put together a little something. So anybody who DMs me Empower Capital, just those two words, I am going to send them a free gift, which is one of my dating courses. And it's going to cover a lot of what we talked about here, what women want, masculine and feminine energies, and how to attract a woman and build chemistry, all that good stuff.
Make sure to go follow on Instagram, okay, and support. And yeah, there's a lot of great knowledge on there. I'm a follower as well, so I know. Yeah, so that's all for today. And once again, thank you all for tuning in to Empower Capital. Once again, stay blessed, and we love you, we care about you, and we want you to succeed. Take care. Bye.